with his face mask up. He goes, "I was being nice," and the face mask fell down.
Wow.
And he walked off.
So you screened it, so you didn't even know about it?
I didn't even know about
That's
it.
amazing. So, an absolute honour to say that, ladies and gentlemen, well, actually, it's just gentlemen in this room, we have got Billy Crystal with us today.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Good morning.
Very lovely to have you, sir. Because I'll be honest, sometimes at Radio X, the guests we get are frankly crap. We know, but this is a really good one. So
This is huge.
High-end crap.
No,
really?
you're not, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
No, it's an absolute. Sometimes we're really scraping the barrel for guests, but we've got Billy Crystal on the show this
Billy
morning.
Crystal
This is
here,
huge.
sir.
It's an absolute honour to have you here, and forgive me for this, but we were chatting earlier, and we were saying we just assumed Billy Crystal was a stage name.
No.
Because it's such a magnificently Hollywood name, but you were born Billy Crystal.
William Edward.
William Edward Crystal. That's even better in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like there's, that idea that if you have a great name, you'll go on to do great things. Because you were never going to go hungry with a name like Billy Crystal.
I was never really sometimes comfortable with my name.
Really?
Yeah, the Billy part.
Right.
I'm older now, so the Billy, I'm more Bill now to friends. I like that. Settled into that. Sometimes when I was Billy, I wouldn't turn around because I wanted to be like a Tim or a Skip.
Skip would be good.
Skip, right?
That's a good name. It's a
Skip
strong
Crystal.
name, Skip, isn't it?
But the family name is what it is, all the way back hundreds of years.
Really?
Yeah, to Russia.
I love the idea of you not turning around to the name Billy. Just going.
I didn't like it. It felt like a little kid's name.
I do know what you mean. It's a young person's name. So
Yeah. And then, when I was first doing television, my manager said, it should be Bill. It should be Bill. So on the first TV shows, it was Bill. And then they said, let's put the Y back.
So you've got an identity complex at this point. You don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose that maybe it's time to revisit the idea of William Crystal, because I think Billy Crystal is quite a good comedic name.
It's served me well.
You've done all right off it.
But I had when I was playing high school basketball and baseball, the same coach used to call me Willie.
Yeah.
And I really liked that.
Yeah.
And actually, the times I've been I'm going to drop a name. Come on. But he calls me Willie. He's Jack Nicholson.
Oh, there. That's it. Hey, if you're going to drop a name, make it a good one.
That's very good.
And so he calls you Willie.
Yeah.
I think calling a baseball player Willie Crystal makes sense, because you can imagine there was a great baseball player in the 1930s called Willie Crystal.
Absolutely, yeah.
I can absolutely imagine that. Well, we're here to talk to you about Before, which is available on Apple TV. And I'm not just saying this because you're here plugging this, but I'll say to anyone that listens now, Apple TV is the best one at the moment. Of all those ones, and we won't name them because we're here to talk about Apple TV, Apple TV is killing it at the moment. It's so wonderful.
I think the shows are great. And ours in particular is really spectacular. I'm not just saying because I've flown thousands of miles to be here. It's for me, it's such a different world. This world of a psychodrama thriller and amazing relationship with this kid who's played by a wonderful young British actor named Jacoby Jupe, and it's not really horror, but it's tense and it's scary, and it's a world I never thought I would live in. But I love that we were able to make this.
Yeah, because there'll be a lot of people listening to the show right now going, "Oh, they got Billy Crystal on the show. He must have a comedy coming out or something." But it's absolutely not. And I was thinking, I had a scroll through your IMDb, and I was looking at it. And now, have you ever done anything even remotely close to this before?
Yeah, but it's so bad.
I think we should name and shame. Do you think?
It was a show. It was sort of a show like The Twilight Zone,
Right.
anthology, 2 episodes for the half hour.
Okay.
And it was on ABC television, and it was called Dark Room.
Right. Okay. Dark room. Everyone Googles dark room.
Oh my God! And I played a downbeat kind of messenger with a limp, sort of a Ratso Rizzo kind of character, if you remember Midnight Cowboy. who was working for a gangster who was played by the scary Brian Dennehy. And I come across this actor who I end up with his makeup kit, and he had told me that the makeup was magical, that if you put it on, you would become this, who you wanted to play would actually transform you.
Yeah.
So he's been taking advantage of me and this gangster, and I have to fight back. So I see the makeup kit, and I put it on, and I become like this incredible Hulk character. I see pictures of it. I still laugh, going, "What was I thinking?" And I put the camera down on the floor of the stage so I would look 8 feet tall, and I did fake muscles and knocking down doors and picking up stuntmen and throwing them. Yeah, so that was as close as I got.
Was that more of a Skip role than a Billy role?
Yeah, that could be. Because people go, "Skip, why'd you do that?"
What were you thinking, Skip?
Yeah.
I think that's what I hope that when they were casting before that they hadn't cast you and go, guys, we've got Billy Crystal, it's going to be a real change of pace.
Yeah.
And nobody in the room went, no, don't get him. Did you never see Darkroom? What? Oh, he's already signed the contract. Oh my God! The last time I saw him attempt this sort of stuff, it was dreadful. No, you're absolutely brilliant in it. So I've seen the first episode so far. You're absolutely brilliant in it. Now, how does that come about? Because you're Billy Crystal, right? So
I was one of the creators of the show.
I said, so you.
Yeah, so when but I hadn't intended to play him. I was really loving co-creating and writing it with a great writer named Eric Roth, who won an Oscar for Forrest Gump, and he wrote Dune and Killers of the Flower Moon, and he's amazing. Yeah. And it was originally about a 100-year-old man recounting his life to an elder therapist, a gerontologist, I guess, and recounting his life story. And it was based on tapes that my late grandmother had made before she passed on, that she made audio tapes wanting the family to know who she was and how our family started in America. Wow. And so it was really interesting. It was like a romance novel that this 100-year-old guy would tell his life story, and every year would be a different decade of his life. And it wasn't adding up to anything except something kind of cool. But what was it about? In the interim, my son-in-law asked me is there a good book for my grandson, who at the time was like 13, to read something different. So I told him about this book I read when I was in 7th grade called The Search for Bridie Murphy. I don't know if you remember this story. She was a 28-year-old woman who, under hypnosis, talked about her life as this woman, Bridie Murphy, in Ireland 200 years prior. Wow. And when they did the research afterwards, it all panned out. Everything she talked about was true. How would she know this? Wow, so it was really spectacular.
Yeah.
So he said, this is crazy. I've done research into kids with past lives at the University of Virginia. Here's this book by this researcher I work with. It's called Life Before Life. And just read it. It's fascinating stuff. So one day in a writing meeting, we weren't getting anywhere. So I said to Eric, wait a second. What if he's not 100? What if he's 8? And he still has these memories. That's a mystery. That could be really cool.
Yeah.
And that was how it. And he said, "Now this is all right. We got the idea of something. There's a woman I know, a fabulous writer named Sarah Thorpe, who could write out of this." And he brought her in after telling her the premise that we were talking about. And 2 weeks later, she came in with a scenario of Dr. Eli Adler working with this feral young boy who just shows up out of the blue. Who is he? Why does he know so much about me? Why did he come to me? What's the mystery of this kid's life, who's mostly mute, violent, and an art savant? So when I start taking him on as a patient, when he can't talk, I get him to draw what he's expressing. And through the drawings, I see symbols in someone, not unlike how a good therapist would work with dreams. And because, Freud would say that there are symbols in dreams that will amount to something. Your brain is telling you something. But it's these movies we see when we're asleep. It's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so I then said, all right, stop. I want to play him. And it was just off what she was saying. I hadn't really intended to do it. And then I was on Broadway at the time when we got a go-ahead to do it for Apple. I was doing a musical of Mr. Saturday Night, and I was having the greatest time. But my one day off was Mondays. And on Mondays, Sarah would send me drafts of scripts or ideas for things, and I'm reading what this is unbelievable. I can't wait for the show to close so I can do this. And it's spectacular. It's a world since Darkroom I didn't have a chance to inhabit, and it was really it's mesmerizing stuff. I mean, you've only seen one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're on. I envy you. You're gonna have a great time. This is a very dense, mystical, strange, gripping, scary, edgy show that's a real thriller at the same time.
Yeah, it's great. The first episode premiered October 25th, so a few days ago. It's on Apple TV Plus right now. It's going to be a 10-part series. But honestly, you will do what I think everyone did. I for the first 30 seconds of seeing you, I'm going, come on, Billy, crack a joke. And then immediately, to be fair, you're brilliant. You're in. You're absolutely sold on you. So, you know, do you know what? You've cast aside your dark room demons forever, I think.
Well,
so.
You know, any preconceived notions of people, you know, I've been out there a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm thrilled with, you know, that I'm still here and still doing it. But this gives you a whole... At this point in my life and my career, to have something like this to stretch into and inhabit is thrilling for me.
Well, it's interesting because obviously you did analyse this and analyse that with De Niro, who was doing, I guess, what we now would call a reverse Billy, which sounds like an inappropriate position in the bedroom. But essentially, so Robert De Niro went from, you know, super terrifying roles, and he's done Cape Fear, to suddenly being opposite you in a film. So it's interesting. It's so fascinating whenever you see actors do that switch.
Yeah, and you know, if I could cure him, which I did, an 8-year-old kid with trauma is nothing.
That's nothing.
It's wonderful. Very quickly, because I know that you're a man in popular demand this morning, and we're going to pass you around to several other interviews this morning. But I have to ask you about some of your magical films that you did. If we had more time, I'd talk about Monsters, Inc. for hours, because I love that film so
Go
much.
ahead.
Well, I just absolutely adore that film, because animated films, they have a weird way of... I don't know why, animated films are somehow get me more choked up than non-animated films.
They're usually done by Pixar.
Yeah, that
You know,
bit at
this
the
was
end.
one of their... I think this was their second film.
Yeah.
Toy Story was the first. And interestingly enough, I don't know if some people know this or not, I was John Lasseter, who created Pixar and the whole form and that kind of animation, had come to me to play Buzz Lightyear.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't... I ended up not doing it. And it wasn't because I didn't think it was good. I didn't think, one, I was the right voice for it. And two, there was a whole business thing that wasn't right. And my manager said, I don't think this is good. And they weren't Pixar yet in a way. And
Have you fired that manager?
So I was like, oh, look at this. But Tim Allen was the perfect voice for it. Anyway, a couple of years later, I'm in my office in L.A. and phone rings, and my secretary says, John Lasseter's on your line. I said, oh, God. Hello, John, whatever it is, yes. And he goes, no. He said, listen, I have something I think you're going to really love. I'd love to talk to you about it. I said, anytime. He said, good, I'm in your lobby. Can I come up? And he had a case, and he opened the case, and there was this statue, a figurine of Mike, and said, this is... calling him Mike Wazowski, and I looked into his one eye and his hands, and I said, is CBS walking? Look at this guy. And he then told me the concept for Monsters, Inc., that they were, using the screams of the kids to use energy and so on and so forth. And I said, I love this. And I said, who would play the Sully? He said, John Goodman. I said, oh, my God. Finesse. So I signed on. And he said, but I want to show you something. I said, what is it? He said, we did a screen test for you as Buzz. And so he popped in, it was a half-inch, cassette, video cassette, VHS. And there's Buzz, and they took a speech from When Harry Met Sally, where he gets mad at his friends because he had just seen his wife, and he says, someday everyone's in love, and that's great, but someday you're going to go 15 rounds over who gets this wagon wheel coffee table, right? And then it cuts out wide, and I'm standing under a coffee table, this stupid wagon wheel coffee table, and he walks off, and then you hear Bruno's voice say, I thought you liked it, and with his face mask up, he goes, I was being nice, and the face mask fell down.
Wow.
And he walked off.
So you screened it, so you didn't even know about it?
I didn't even know about it.
That's amazing. That's such a
And
great...
that's what they would do. They would take scenes and put it in the character to see, did the voice match
Amazing.
the character. And I still felt the same way. I said, you know what? I love that I have it, but Tim Allen's voice was better.
Do you know, I think it worked out perfectly because Tim Allen's so great as Buzz, and you're so
but
great.
But Mike lives on, and when my grandkids were little, they didn't really know what I did. And one day we were walking in like a mall, a shopping area, and some paparazzi guys popped out of nowhere, and they freaked out. Why are they taking Grandpa's picture? And had to tell them, and so on and so forth. And so then they were able to see Monsters, Inc. And then they started calling the house, and I would answer, and they go, is Mike there? So I'd have to talk to them as Mike. And then they saw The Princess Bride, and then they said, is Max there? And I would only talk, hold on, I'll get him. Hello, kids. I'd have to be Max for them.
That's so lovely. It's so great. Well,
but now they see, they've seen Harry and Sally, and now I don't know what to say.
Are they old enough for before yet? They need to wait a few years.
Yes, they are.
Okay, it is. It has been an absolute honour to meet you, Billy Crystal. Please come back and see us anytime at Radio X. And we'll call you whatever you'd like us to call you in the future.
Absolutely.
Skip.
Thank you, Skip.
Billy Crystal, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Radio X.